So these are my three biggest techniques. Now, obviously there's more behind it, but you're going to get a really good indication of how to get that sharp, beautiful photo of an animal today. So it's a good one to kick off on. Okay, so this presentation will take 30 to 40 minutes. And you can always go back. So I'm going to record this so you've got a copy to have a look at and reference back on if you need to as well. And I'll have some Q&A at the end as well. So bear in mind that I'm by myself. So I'm going to answer as many questions as I can off the computer. So it shouldn't be too hard for me, but we'll give it the best shot. All right. So in today's lesson, I'm going to talk to you about camera settings, techniques and lens choice, editing, and my masterclass information and webinar deal that I'm going to give off today. So I'm excited about that. It's been 2 years in the making. And my webinar giveaway as well. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Someone's going to, the first person that answers the question correctly will win a 20-minute Zoom call with myself, and we can talk about how you need to improve or what you need to improve in your photography. And at the end, the Q&A as well. So let's get into it. My name's Craig. If you don't know me, I started photography at a young age, and I'd say probably in the last 10 years has been a real defining sort of change in my career. I started teaching photography 15 years ago, and it's been definitely a part of my career base now, where I'm loving seeing my students walk away with a big smile on their face and finally getting the understanding of how photography works and really enjoying their camera and also their trips away. So I started off doing surf photography, weddings, portraiture, anything to sort of pay for the camera equipment that I wanted to work with. And from there, I really started pursuing my nature-based career of photography, and all those skill bases that I did have with weddings and portraiture really made me who I am today. It makes me quite flexible, especially when I'm working with National Geographic. I can get out there, and if they ask me to do some portraits, I can. And so all those skill bases do really matter in the long run. So when you're learning photography, it's really good to have a good general base of all different genres of photography. Okay, so camera settings. Why aren't my pictures sharp? I didn't get a good shot on the trip. I hear that a lot when people go away and they say, "Oh, Craig, I've just been away, but we just didn't get a good photo." That's a very common thing, and I want to change that for you. Okay, so my photos are too dark or too bright, and that comes down to a setting inside the camera as well. So we're not going to go into the finer details, but I'll give you a broad base of how we can change that. All right, so let's kick it off. So a good place to start, especially when you're shooting nature photography or you are shooting wildlife, is to have that shutter speed above 800th of a second. Now, what that does is it just makes sure that you can freeze that moment. I like to have it a lot higher than that. Sometimes if I'm shooting an animal that's moving quickly, I'll be up at 2,000ths of a second or 2,500th of a second. So it is important, imperative to have that shutter speed up there. Now, when you do that, it's going to increase the ISO. So what I do with my students, if they're not feeling comfortable, they're going, "Craig, I don't feel comfortable in manual mode just yet." What I tend to tell them to do is to jump in and change their camera to shutter priority or manual with auto ISO. Okay. For today's exercise, I would say for you to jump in and just my camera, I've got the Sony A1. Now, you'll see a dial if you've got a Sony camera, and it'll have P, A, M, S. Now, shutter priority is the one that starts with S. Okay, so you want in shutter priority, and that will allow you to choose the shutter that you need. So if we're shooting animals, we want it up about the 800th of a second or 1250th of a second. So you change it to that. And that way the camera will then choose the aperture required for that photo. But then if you go in and go auto ISO, it'll prioritize the ISO setting. So it's a good way to start. Get into it and make sure your settings are at that height. Now, if you may have noticed that some cameras have 15 frames per second. They can really get up there. Most cameras have about 10 to 8 frames per second. I encourage everyone to, if they're shooting wildlife, to have that frame rate up as high as possible. This will allow you to get that split second moment. You're not overkilling it if you're getting lots and lots of shots, because that one split second can make or break your sequence of photos. Okay, so try and have your frame rate up there as fast as possible. Let me go back there, sorry. So, and also we've discussed having the aperture low. So if we go f2.8 to f5.6, keep your lens around about that sort of aperture. So what that'll do, isolate your subject, but we'll go into that in the next keynote. So when we say, oh, my photos feel empty, that's when we get into the aperture. My images look like everyone else's. How do I stand out? My images seem too soft, but my settings are all good. Okay, so positioning is just as important as your camera equipment. So make sure you position yourself properly. We'll talk about that now. So techniques and lens choice. Now, what I tend to do, it might be my style of photography, but I really love staying low to the ground. I love filling that foreground up and then having my wildlife subject sort of stand out in between a blurred background and the blurred foreground. Okay, so if I'm shooting off a boat, I'll lean over the side of the boat and I'll tilt my screen out so I'm looking across the water. Or if I'm in Africa and I have the opportunity, I'd love to get out of the car and get low and shoot through the bushes. All right, so stay low, frame your subject. If you've got any sort of natural, anything natural there, like a bush or if you're shooting in the suburbs and have maybe buildings to frame your shots as well. So that'll allow you to sort of make your subject stand out. Okay, so now you want to choose, if you're shooting nature or wildlife, you want to choose a lens that has like a telephoto lens. Okay, so that has an aperture of about f2.8 to f4. All right. I know it starts to get quite expensive when you start getting to that f2.8 mark, but if you can go f4 to f5.6 and you can get the 100 to 400, which is f5.6, that is a fantastic aperture and that'll isolate your subjects. Okay, so it'll allow you to, I'll give you an example in a minute, but it'll allow you to isolate your subject. If you've got a bird in flight or if you've got a lion, you'll isolate that subject and it'll be the center piece of your photo. Okay. Now, I think it's really important too that you use a lens that has a short focal range. Okay. So you don't want to have a lens that shoots 50 mil to 500 mil. You want a lens that shoots 70 to 200 or 100 to 400. If you choose a lens that does everything, so 50, that's pretty much your landscape to your high detailed shots at 500 mil of a moon or etc., you then sacrifice the sharpness of the photo and you'll be very disappointed. So try and stay clear of those one-stop lenses. It's important that you try and shorten that focal range to 70 to 200. So keep it maximum 400 mil range between your lens focal distances. So here's some examples of what I have done with my photograph. So you can see the clownfish up in the top left-hand corner. I've framed that with the anemone. So it's got a little home there and it gives it some sort of context. With the dolphin, I've framed it with the clouds reflecting off the sky. So that's framed in there. And then I've got the penguin. So I'm isolating the penguin on the bottom left-hand corner. That's shot with the 600 f4 and it'll allow me to isolate the penguin there. I've stayed low to the water, shooting across and let it stand out. And with the leopard, that's shot on the 70 to 200 at f2.8 and you can see the vegetation behind it is blurred. Therefore, it's not as distracting. And then the subject is standing out there as well. Okay. All right. So I want to give you an exercise. I'm going to show you firsthand how I edit my wildlife photos. And I want to show you how I adjust the color. So most of my students, the color is the biggest issue they have with their editing. I'll show you how to remove a spot or get rid of a distracting subject to your photo. And I'll also show you how I can get from my raw photo and how I save it on my desktop. So I save it as a print file So it's like an archival file. It'll sit in my print folder and I won't touch it again. And then when I have to go to print, I'll then get that file and then readjust to the size the print needs to be, and then get it off to the printer or print it myself. Okay, so we'll start with Lightroom. I've chosen Lightroom because Lightroom is quite common for everyone out there. Photoshop I generally use, but Lightroom's a really good source to start on. It's very similar engine to the Photoshop, so there's no sort of difference where when you're shooting with the adjusting the raw. Okay, so today, like I said, we're going to talk about the white balance. I'm going to show you how to heal it. To start, like if you've got any sort of dust spots or anything like that out of your photo. And I'm going to show you how to mask the subject as well. And I've got a lilac-breasted bird here from Africa. So I'm going to show you how it's a very vibrant image, which you'll see in a minute. And I'm going to show you how to isolate and adjust the bird's colors only on that as well. Okay, so let's do that. And I will grab the Lightroom. Here we go. Okay, so we've got Lightroom up and going here. So to kick it off, let me just get rid of that one. Okay, there we go. So let's adjust the color in the image now. So we're going to develop, we're in there, beautiful, settings. Okay, so let's adjust it so I make sure that the colors are perfect. So what I do is I grab the dropper tool on here, and this will adjust the temperature and the tint. All right, so I'm gonna just collect the color of this lilac-breasted roller just here. Now that's getting pretty close to what I would use, but what I do once I get that sort of reference point of the white over on just above its eye there, then I'll adjust it very small increments just to try and get that as good as possible. There we go. And I'm pretty happy with how that looks as the color of the bird and the vegetation that's there. All right, got that. Now we'll use the clone tool. So both Photoshop and Lightroom have a really good clone tool now and a Band-Aid tool, so you can get out those nasty dust spots or anything that's really ruining your photo. So in this instance, there's not much really that I want to take out of the photo. For instance, I probably wouldn't take anything out of the photo, but I just want to show you how it works. Okay, so we'll go in here. Now, Lightroom have just added a really good content aware tool that AI will help you with. So I'll see this little branch. There's a little branch there that's a little bit just bothering me. So let me just analyze that. Click on that and then let it do its work. Apply. And it should get that out pretty good. It's very powerful what they're doing now with the AI clone tool and sharpening and all those things with editing. So if we go in here, then that's just completely removed that part of the image. And it's just, sometimes when you've got an image, and especially if I say I'm shooting underwater and I've got a whale and then I've got bits of sand and turbulence that on the skin from the whales, I'll really use the clone tool to take out, and the Band-Aid tool to take out anything there. Okay, so you can see the ease of that. It's super quick to do. So you can use that tool, really handy. And with a generative AI, it just makes it so easy to do these days. Okay, so now we'll go into masking the bird. Now, I want that bird to stand out. So what I'm going to do is grab the mask tool, and I'm going to go to subject, and it should, there we go, selected the bird perfectly without any drip. Got a little bit of bleed over here, which we can get rid of if you want. But in today's exercise, we're just going to go fast forward on it and just so you're clear on how to do this. So as you can see, it's isolated the bird. Now I can brighten that bird up, I can darken that bird up, and it's not going to affect any part of the image other than the bird. So what I want the bird to stand out just a little bit. So I'm going to lighten him a little bit, and then I'm going to change his white balance a little bit and bring that real magenta blues out in his feathers. So you can see there I've added a little bit of magenta and I've cooled it down a little bit. What else would I do? Maybe bump the shadows a little bit as well. There we go. Okay, let me have a look at that up close. Perfect. Yep. Everything's looking beautiful. Look at those blues. They're a beautiful looking bird. Amazing. And one other thing I would do on this image as well is I would probably darken the background. You know, if I was looking at getting this on the wall for print, I then would, let me have a look, create another mask. Here we go, plus, and then I'm going to select the background of the image. So there we go. Now it's selected everything bar the bird. Let me just darken that a little bit. Could even change the white balance. We could either warm that or cool that. I'll probably cool it. Maybe just tint of green. There we go. Beautiful. I am really happy with that. That's a great little edit. Now, when you're happy with the image, so say you've got the image and you've edited it for sometimes an hour. You know, sometimes I'm on these images for more than an hour, just making sure that I'm happy with the color and the sharpness, etc. So once I'm happy with everything, I'll go into and export the image. All right. So exporting it in Lightroom is quite easy. So you'll go back to the library feature there and then export. And then I'll go in, I'll create a subfolder on my desktop. So you got the desktop there, and in printing, I'll create the desktop printing and I'll put printing bird. And I will put custom name lilac. Now, the other important thing when you're saving the image, you really want to save it as a TIFF file. Okay, so saving it as a TIFF file, it's uncompressed. I always make sure that it's not at 8 bits, but 16 bits component without compression. And then I will make sure that the resolution's at 300 DPI as well. And then I will export it. And then it'll go through and export to my desktop and it'll be saved there. And that's it. It's really simple to do. That's the simplest way to edit a photo. You can jump into Photoshop and do it there. A little bit more complicated, but you know, Lightroom does a really good job, especially if you're doing batch images. If you're doing a multiple, say you've been out there shooting birds all afternoon and you've got a very similar sort of light and same bird that you've been shooting, you can actually batch those settings and put them in, not with the masking, but with all the sort of color balance of the sky, etc. Okay, so let's get back to the rest of the course. Go. All right, so we've done that. Now, I wanted to talk to you today about my masterclass, which I've been working on for the last 2 years, and it's been a fulfilling thing for me because everything that I've learned, I've put into this masterclass. And every time I've been teaching workshops around the world for a long time now, and to be able to put everything that I know into one package has really been a fulfilling exercise, and I've been really enjoying watching the growth of the masterclass, and I've been enjoying making it. So I'll go over today about what I've done in the masterclass and what topics I've been covering and what you can get out of it as well. So let's get into that. Now, you've got lifetime access to the masterclass, so there's no time constraints. You can do it whenever you want, over as long as you want. And I'll keep adding to the masterclass as well. So I'm off to Tonga on Monday, so I'll be adding a very special whale photography lesson in there as well. And I'm using the 360 camera, so I'll be able to, it'd be a really immersive lesson as well. So I go into a lot of detail in the masterclass. So I start off with setting up your camera. We talk about the fundamentals of photography. We talk about composition, landscape photography, underwater photography, aerial photography, how to edit your images. What else did I do? I went to Dubai and I did a special episode on how to run an exhibition. So how to print your work for exhibition. And I take you on the boat as well. And I talk about all the techniques that I'm using on the boat. And yeah, there's so much in here. And I've got the link for the masterclass will be at the back here. I'll show you it in a minute, so you can check it out. I'm actually giving away a free episode today. So if you jump on that photographymasterclass.art website, it'll go into more detail about what the masterclass is, but I also give away a lesson on wildlife photography just for you to trial, just to make sure that the masterclass is right for you. Okay, so how to win photography competitions. That's a big one because over the years, I've entered photography competitions. I've won a few, I've judged a few. So I have a really good understanding of what it takes to actually have an award-winning image. So that's a really fun episode. I talk about goal setting. I talk about fitness, mental health in photography. It is challenging. So there's lots covered, and you'll see on the website what is covered, more so to point than here. But yeah, well, I'm excited for you to see what I've done. Learn anywhere, anytime. Like I said, you can learn at your own pace. You've got lifetime access to the course, and it's 30 days money back guarantee. So I guarantee that this course will change you in 30 days as a photographer, or your money back. So there's no commitment. If you think, Craig, this course sucked, which it doesn't, but if you don't like the course and it doesn't suit your learning style, then I'm happy to give you your money back if you don't feel like you've got anything out of it, okay? So don't worry about that. I'm giving away a free lesson as well, just to make sure that you are comfortable purchasing this. Now, the webinar special today is not $500, but $250. And I'm that confident that you'll succeed at this photography course that, like I said, money back guarantee. So now it's time for the giveaway. All right. Thank you for watching. It is time for the giveaway. And after this giveaway, I'm going to do a Q&A. So, yeah, I'm going to get onto that for you. So we'll do the Q&A, and you can type your question into the comments below. And so the question is, all right, so if it's going to be the first person to get this question right, the question is, and you get a 20-minute phone call with me at your own. I can do it over this weekend, or I can do it next month whenever you're free. But here's the question: how long do you have to complete the masterclass? All right, come on. I want to see a comment in the section here. I'm looking for a comment. Excellent, Sean. Congratulations. Oh, no, Phoebe Heard's written twice. So congratulations, Phoebe. You've won the 20-minute phone call with me. Congratulations. Thanks, guys. I'm so sorry I can't give any more out. But I want to have a Q&A now. So, you know, whoever didn't win that competition, you guys can have a couple of questions here, either on my course or on photography in general, or on what I do with National Geographic, or what I've been doing with my career. There's nothing, you can, yeah, it's all covered. So, all right, let me just get to the Q&A. All right, Q&A, we're still live. Perfect. Geez, it's been a struggle getting this live thing happening. I'm really happy. Thanks for your patience, everyone. It's been a bit challenging when you're trying to do this by yourself, but Q&A is start. Okay. All right, let's get to the Q&A. Does anyone have any questions out there for me about photography? Anything about the course? Any questions? And sorry, I changed the date too for this webinar. As I said tomorrow, then I've done today, then I've done today. So I'm working for National Geographic tomorrow. It's been exciting. We're working on the new Limitless feature with Chris Hemsworth. So that's been a part of my, part of what I've been doing lately. And it's been amazing and mind blowing to be able to work with such a wonderful crew of people. So, okay, who's your favorite photographer, inspiration, and why? Thanks, Brent. One of them would be my father. My dad, he influenced me at a young age to take photographs, and that was a big part of my growth as a photographer. But I do have many influences out there. Paul Nicklin has been a big inspiration of mine over the years, and Chris Burkhardt has been a fantastic inspiration. There's just so many names of people out there. My friend Scott Portelli, he inspired me to get over to Tonga and run photography workshops. So there's so many wonderful people out there, and so many wonderful photographers for all different reasons. Some of my photographers inspire me to, do master classes, and some of my photographers inspire me to do landscape photography or underwater photography. I think it's so important to have sort of people in your life that want to make you better, and support you throughout your career. So yeah, there's so many names, Brent, but they're ones that come to mind. So who else? Let me go. So many questions here. Sean, thanks for saying thank you, mate. Any tips on split level shots front? Yes. I do go into more detail in my masterclass, but I would have to say keep your aperture at f/18. Keep your focus under the water. Use a big dome port, like an 8-inch dome port. That's super important. And play with those settings. So f/18 and get a big dome port, and spit on your lens port as well. That'll help sort of have that nice even water placement over the acrylic or glass. What sort of equipment do you need? You don't need any equipment with the course. So you can either have your iPhone or you can borrow a camera off a friend, but it's nice to have a camera in front of you just so you can get used to the settings of those cameras and trying, because I think it's really important when you do trace, when you have a camera in front of you, just to be able to get used to using the ISO, get used to using the shutter speed on that particular camera. So I suggest just go out there and buy it. Don't have to spend a lot of money. Honestly, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on a camera. There's so many good cameras out there you can buy used. What other questions have we got here? Jenny, so what are your tips when photographing whales from a boat? Okay, so that's a really good question, Jenny, because on my masterclass, so you go to photographymasterclass.art, that's the lesson that I'm actually giving away. It's me going out on the boat, taking photos of whales. So jump on there, put your email in, and then you'll get the lesson for free. And it goes for about 20 minutes and you'll get all the answers there. I can't get my Sony f4 7200 to focus properly. Okay, so there could be a few issues, Robert. It could be either a mechanical issue with the lens. It would have to be something that I'd have to look at for you. I'd have to look at what you're doing. So it's a very tough one for me to sort of answer that over the chat. But if you got, I'd be more inclined for you to go and see someone at a camera store just to make sure that there's no error on the lens, mechanically speaking. Skeeter, mate, not a problem. I'm stoked to bring you this course or this lesson. Thanks, Marianne, for the reference. Taylor, thank you. Thanks, Nadine. Appreciate it. Robert, I do private lessons, but I find it really hard at the moment because I'm away so much with National Geographic, and I'm away in Tonga now for a month. But I do them, but I tend to like to do group courses over a few days. So have a look on my website. My suggestion: purchase the masterclass, do that, and then we can go into more detail if you've got anything extra that you need to learn as well. So have you been to Australia photographing? Yeah, I'm in Australia. I live in Australia, Vince. What other question? I'll do one more question. And it's been such a pleasure. And also, like I said, this will be live. This live recording will go onto my Facebook. So if you want to reference back to anything, you can. Phoebe, thanks. No worries, guys. And have a lovely weekend. I'm off to Tonga on Monday to swim with the whales. So You can keep up to date with what I'm doing there via my Instagram and Facebook. But I've really enjoyed doing this, and I think you're going to get a lot out of what I've said today. And I hope you all have a lovely weekend. So take care. Thank you.